Welcome everyone, and today I'll be looking at Mutology, a game designed by Jeremy Bartlett. It's a two-player strategic living card game that has a mad scientist theme to it. The main focus of the game is making monsters. You use specimens and specific combination of radiation to mutate these specimens into desired monsters. At the beginning of each round, if these monsters survive, they'll give you points. And once a player reaches 5 research points, they win the game. The game mechanics are very similar to Magic the Gathering or Hearthstone. The game is played in 3 phases. The first phase is a prep phase. This is where you spend your resource, which is concentration, to put cards into play or to draw cards. The second phase, it's like an attack phase, it's called the clash phase. This is where you resolve any combat, and that's resolved at the same time for both players. And the last phase is an additional prep phase, and this is where you spend any leftover concentration to play more cards or to draw more cards. Before the game starts, players will be creating a 45 card draw deck that consists of 5 different types of cards: specimens, radiation, lab assistants, procedures, and devices. Specimens are creatures that can only attack and provide you research points if they mutate into monsters. Each specimen has 4 combinations to mutate them into a choice of 2 monsters. Each monster has varied stats and special abilities. Radiation cards are the requirements needed to mutate the specimen into a monster. They also provide stats that increase the damage or the attack value or the stability or health of the mutant. Once the mutant is mutated, like Magic the Gathering, you can't use it that round, you can use it next round. The next set of cards you can use in the game, you probably want to add to your deck, are lab assistants. They are cards that help you gain resources and special abilities if you play them in the field zone or in the lab zone. I'll explain what those zones are later. Procedure cards are cards that you play and have a one-time effect. They usually have 2 choices. Now, you don't have to just choose one and then discard it. I mean, if you have enough concentration points, you can possibly choose both options. Device cards are similar to lab assistants. The main difference is that it can only be activated in your field zone, and some of them have costs in order to trigger the effect. So I'll be showing a couple of rounds on how to play Mutology. So the first thing you do is you get 5 concentration tokens. These are the resources you need to put cards into play. You have this 45 deck card shuffled and you draw 7. And that becomes your starting hand. As you can see, the costs are on the top right. So the first thing I'd probably want to do is throw this technician into play. Now when you put a card into play, you have a choice. You either put it in the field, which is the top zone, or you put it in the lab at the bottom zone. In the lab, usually the special text, if it's a device, can't be triggered. If it's a lab assistant, has this additional text at the bottom, that can't be triggered. And these lab assistant, what's special about it is that in any zone, if it's lab or field, you get that special text. So the field zone, it's out there. It helps you trigger the special text, and it's vulnerable for damage. If you leave it in the lab, it's safe. It can't be attacked, but you can't use the special ability. So there is kind of a trade-off there. So I'll probably want to throw the technician in first. So it'll cost me 1 concentration. It's top right. So I put that in my field at the top. But since that's in my zone, I think that will trigger at the beginning of next round. so it'll probably set me up for next round. But I can play radiation costs less than 1, so I'd probably want to throw some radiation down and a specimen down. So I'll probably spend 1 concentration to throw that specimen to play. Probably throw that in my field. And I'll probably throw in a couple of wranglers, a concentration each. Now there's a limit to how many cards you can have in a zone, so you can only have up to 4 cards in each zone. So that's, right now this is my field zone, at the bottom is my lab, so I can't throw any more cards into here unless if I'm attaching it to a specimen or technician. Now there's nothing I can clash with because I would have to wait for the player since I started, and if I have any additional concentration that I would like to spend, I would do so, but in this case I don't. I will end my turn and then wait for the next player. So let's say it is the start of my next turn, so I would start with 5 concentration. And then any effects that can be triggered, so I get +1 in any zone, +1 in any zone, +1 in any zone. So that'll give me 3 additional concentration. And now I can do some real damage here. I'll probably want to put these into play, and it's going to cost me 1 less. So this would normally cost me 6. So right now it's going to cost me 4 because it's 1 less. 2, 3, 4. So that goes away. And now I didn't really wait to get experiment 20. I probably just went for experiment 10 because that's what I could mutate right away, get the early points. So that's a beta and a gamma, and that will give me new stats. And that's how you set up the card. So right now it's at, well, I have to find the experiment card first, and you put that, you cover that there, cover that specimen, and now as you can see it's an attack value of 1 and a stability of 4, so 4 hit points in order for it to kill it. And I'll probably draw more cards, so I can spend 2 more concentration to draw a card. Probably spend all of it and get 2 cards there. So once this is in play, this is a monster. I can't use it right away, but I can, if I do enter the clash phase, which I am, I will use these wranglers. And let's say if I were to do damage to another wrangler, damage is done at the same time. So if it was a wrangler and a wrangler fighting each other, it would give 1 damage, and this would also receive 1 damage, and so you put damage tokens on them if they do get damaged. So let's say I chose to attack with that, and I got some damage from the other player. Let's say I got 1 there, and they also receive damage as well. And then we'll go to the next player, and then if any, they do their 3 phases, and it goes back to me. And if this monster does survive, I get a research point. Because it's in my field, I haven't put it down into my lab zone, so I'd get a research point for that. Now there may be times where you may want to slide cards down. If this was my turn, let's say I would get my concentration back. I did want to slide this back because I would possibly want to heal it so that it can't be attacked, but it does give me a +1 in any zone, so that's the reason why you probably want to throw cards into the lab zone. Play would continue on like this until someone reaches 5 research points and the game ends. So let's start off with what I liked about the game. The artwork and graphic design is great. The text on the cards and instruction manual, easy to understand. I like the theme, the mad scientist theme. and I didn't find anything mechanically game breaking in any of the phases or any of the cards. Now for the things that I would like to see be improved on. For the instruction manual, the instruction book, I would definitely add in some sort of backstory with art or maybe a comic strip, so that as a consumer, you open it up, you expect to see some sort of table of contents and how to play. You get surprised by this backstory and great artwork, and I think if you had that, that's something that would make players really get into the theme. Now, I know this isn't a finished product. When I was playing, I got the Game Crafter version of it, and the tokens, they felt like paper cutouts, and it didn't feel finished. Now, if you do plan, Jeremy, if you do plan to go with Game Crafter, I would look into upgrading these tokens into possibly wooden tokens. You want to step it up and go even a bit further over the top, possibly get laser cut custom wood tokens, something that's engraved. And then if you want to add on to that, maybe have a player board, so that you can show what's in the field and what's in the lab. And if you want to go away from tokens totally, you can have player tracks to show the concentration. And if you don't want to use the track, you could possibly use dice and have maybe 10-sided dice that looks like a brain to show that that's the concentration used. Now, as for gameplay, it's a decent game. I just think it needs another layer. So maybe another layer of bluffing, or some sort of maybe something that's asymmetric. A game that has this is Android Netrunner. So in Android Netrunner, one player plays the corporation, one player plays the hacker, and the corporation, they're the one doing the bluffing, and then you got the hacker trying to figure out if they're bluffing or not. And the players play cards in different ways. So the corporation plays a card totally different from the way the hacker plays. So, something to think about. My final thought on the game: overall, decent game, great artwork. I love the theme. But if you do plan to expand on it, I would like to see a unique mechanic. Thank you for watching.